much time do you waste on a regular basis? Today on Life Talks, we're going to be talking about taming time wasters. I'm Ben. I'm here with Dan. We are the two teaching pastors at Life Fellowship. Dan, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
You were just wasting time. You just looked at your phone. You just looked at your phone as I was introducing this podcast. How dare you?
True. I was multitasking.
I knew you were going to say that. I was like, he's going to say he's multitasking.
Truly, yesterday I was like, yeah, I get this weekly report from whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
It says your screen time was down 5% last week. And I'm like, yes.
I'm winning at life. But I think there's such a with social media, with devices, with all of this stuff. I mean, wasting time is an art form now.
It really is. I mean, and it's easier because we've got so many more distractions. Yeah. Plus, I personally do think that our excuses have gotten better because multitasking is my go-to excuse.
I used to use this excuse a lot when I said I just didn't have time to do da-da-ba-da-ba-da.
Yeah.
That's a horrible excuse, though.
It's also almost always a lie. We always have time to do what we want to do or think is important.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, but I think that's a very prevalent excuse for some people to say, well, I just didn't have time to fill in the blank. I didn't have time to read my Bible. I didn't have time to pray. I didn't have time to do my work project. But here's where God is a communist, all right? God's a communist when it comes to time. We're all given the same amount of time.
That's true.
And so I think it's important to remember there are certain people that have learned this skill of how to manage time well. And so, and I know for me, this has been a massive battle for me in my life. And I feel like I'm 46 and I'm just now really learning how to do this a lot better than I have been. But what are some things that you would say? Well, I know you talked about the devices. Why do you think this is so important for us to make sure we're managing time?
Well, and I think anybody uses why do I think it's important? Because time is life, and life is time, so you shouldn't be killing time because you're killing your life. And the reality is it is very easy to get sucked into these vortexes of time wasters. For years for me it was TV. I don't watch much TV anymore, but it used to be that. And I can rationalize it. And that's the other problem with wasting time is we always find a way to rationalize
Absolutely.
it. And so, I would say things like, I've had a really stressful day. I need to unwind. I need to relax. Well, I don't need to relax for 3 hours from 7 to 10, watching TV. And honestly, also we need to realize this. Yes, everybody does need rest. Everybody does need to unwind.
Absolutely.
But if you're going to rest and rewind, find a way to do it that's wise and productive. Watching TV for 3 hours isn't. A 15-hour nap is.
That's right.
Did I say 15-hour nap?
Oh,
I would love a 15-hour nap. A 15-minute nap.
Power nap.
Actually, if you take more than like a 20-minute nap, it's not good for you. You go into your deep sleep.
Well, don't tell me that. Sunday afternoon naps are my favorite thing, Dan.
I don't even call them naps. I call them comas. I look forward to my Sunday coma
every
week.
Sunday afternoon naps are the best.
But no, I think one of the things we have to do is just be aware of how much time we fritter away on useless things.
Yeah.
And then also catch ourselves saying, I'm too busy to, and realize, most of the time we say that we're lying. I
mean, the busyness that we're filling our life with really isn't important stuff. I mean, do you remember the 4 quadrants? Remember 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey? He had these 4 quadrants. So you had the one quadrant where it was like, non-important but urgent, and important and urgent, non-important, not urgent, and important, not urgent. Is one of those things. But I think a lot of times people live in the urgent quadrants of life because they've wasted time. And I think it's important that we recognize. I think this adds stress to people. I think this adds a lot of anxiety to people. And the problem is they don't just put a stake in the ground and be like, okay, here's what I'm going to do differently. And because I think you said the excuses are a real thing. And if there's one thing I want to encourage people to get out of this entire episode, please commit to yourself. Stop lying to yourself. Stop telling this to other people. Stop using the excuse, I did not have time. Wouldn't you just say, like if everyone walked away and just stopped using that excuse, the world would be better? Yeah,
and it makes us more accountable. We ought to be accountable to our words, but we also ought to be accountable to our watch.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with checking, into social media or to watching TV until it becomes a problem. And that's where we have to stop. I mean, I talk to my Zoomers all the time. And if you don't know what Zoomers are, it's kids that are
Young
25 and
generation,
younger. Yeah. And they'll say, yeah, I sat down and started watching TikTok or YouTube the other night. Next thing I know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And I said, how
And
many
that's
hours?
normal.
Yeah. And 3-4 hours at a time. And the algorithms are trained. Are programmed to do that, so that you say, yeah, this is my last one, and then they'll pop up an ad for the next one. Oh, well, I'm going to see that one, and then the next one pops up. Oh, one more, that's it.
Well, I got this annual review because we have Custodio on our kids' phones and devices, and I got the annual review of how they spend their time, and I brought it to them, like, guys, look at what you're doing, and they're like, that's not that bad. Like, I thought I was going to bring this like heavy hand of conviction on their lives, like, you should see what my friends do, and I'm just like, it's mind-boggling how much time is wasted.
There's a great episode of there. Excuses we use that are just pathetic. That's what everybody else is doing. That's one of those excuses.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if everybody else is wasting 4 hours a day. What could we do with those 4 hours?
That's right. So what are some things that you think we can do to really make sure that we're not wasting time on a regular basis?
Well, and there's 2 that I use.
Okay.
Number 1 is I make a to-do list, and number 2, I live on schedule. Those 2 things, and I'm not going to tell you I don't waste time, because I do. But the time I waste is always outside of those 2 rules that I have for my life. I always find that when I make a list of things I need to accomplish, it calls me constantly back and forth. Okay, how many things have I gotten off my list today, and how many more things are there?
Yeah.
And then, okay, I'm going to get up at this time.
Yeah.
If I don't get up at a certain time, I will sleep as late as I can before I'll be late to my next appointment.
Really?
So I have to get out of bed at a certain time.
Yeah.
I need to go to bed at a certain time. Now, where I cheat is I'll go to bed, and then I'll open my iPad and I'll start going down the hole of time wasting.
Yeah.
And I think for me, my biggest time is my devices. There's no question. Nothing else is even close.
Yeah. I think, going back to making a list, I can't remember what it was. One of these great business leaders that, they always, what they did is every morning on a 3x5 card, they would write down the top 5 things they had to get done that day. And, I don't do that, but what I do every Monday morning when I get in my office, I've got my whiteboard, and I write down all the big things I've got to get done that week, and then I prioritize it. 1 through 12, 1 through 15, 1 through 10, whatever.
Don't you get a rush when you check one off?
Oh man, it's like it's amazing.
Hit.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you're like, this is awesome. I'm moving forward, and you might add some things to the list, but there's something about crossing something off the list that feels like I'm doing something. Yeah. But I think when you mentioned the device thing, I do think if we're going to, I think there are times when it feels like things get out of control, and I think when we feel like they're getting, for example, for me, I can't have games on my phone anymore, and you know why? Because I will waste so much time with games. And
are you going to have an invitation so I can come forward and confess my sin?
Dan's look on his face is like, how dare you? How dare you bring up my time waster?
Let's talk about your time wasters, not mine.
No, but I'm being honest with you. Like there are times I've had to, I cannot have a game on my phone because I know it's like this vortex of in just the weeds of they just suck me in, and all of a sudden I will look and be like, oh my goodness, I've played this for 2 hours, and that's just my personality.
Oh,
and so
yeah, I don't drink booze, but I'll play a game until my brain falls out. I'm grateful for the New York Times. Can you believe I just said I'm grateful for the New York Times
because of Wordle?
They only do one a day.
Oh yeah,
and it usually takes me about 2 minutes to do it. So I'm done.
But like,
then I go to my other game.
But these games, like I would run through these games, and my wife was like, "What are you doing?" And I can't remember when I made this conscious decision. It probably was about 2 years ago when I was like, I just cannot have a game on my phone because I can't handle it. And like you said, I'm an alcoholic for these things. And again, I know some people can do it. And if you're going to do it, what I would say is schedule your time to do it.
There's 2 great tragedies that came with the phone, the smartphone. Number 1, we spend so much more time in the bathroom than we used to. No, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. You don't go to a public restroom. I hear people carry on conversations in the bathroom in a stall.
Oh my goodness!
If
you wish Seinfeld was around today.
No kidding. My house is burning down. Don't call me while you're in the bathroom, okay? Wait until you're done. But the other thing is I don't read as much.
Mm.
And that to me is the greatest tragedy. I used to read sometimes 2 books a week, 2
Yeah.
full books a week.
Yeah.
And I know I don't read nearly that much as I used to, and part of it is because I have something else to read that is absolutely mindless and vapid.
Yeah.
But
So I think if you're going to have games, what I would say is put boundaries around them, or maybe a better, you said keep a schedule. I would even say schedule that relaxing time to say, like, listen, from this time, like for example, yesterday, I had to come back to the church to do the youth, and I had a youth leaders meeting, and there's some other things I had to do, and so it was like, okay, from this time to this time, I'm vegging out, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm playing Sudoku, I'm napping,
wait! I thought you didn't play games.
I play Sudoku with a book. I said I don't have any games on my phone.
Oh, you played on
I have a book.
You are so old school.
Because I'm able to put it away, and it's not near me. And it's my one guilty pleasure is Sudoku.
I'm not smart enough to play Sudoku.
It has nothing to do with intelligence.
Oh, it has everything
it's
to do with
purely
intelligence.
puzzle. It all is a math puzzle, Dan. That's all it is.
I can't do it.
Anyways, but that, I think if you can schedule that time to say, okay, I'm going to schedule for the next 2 hours to do this because I know from the rest of the time I've got all these other things I'm going to be doing. I think that when you don't do that, it allows yourself to just kind of drift into these other things, and all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh my goodness, what have I done today? And I think those are just things that we've got to be aware of.
I know you got a good list. Maybe we'll have to do 2, but let me ask you this question. Is it sinful to waste time?
I think that it all depends on how you define wasting time. I think wasting time, I would define wasting time as when you're using, instead of using your time to be productive, you're using your time in a unproductive way. And so I think there are times when you don't need to be productive. God never created us to be these super robots that are just like churning out productivity. And when you are uber productivity minded, many times you forget how to rest. You forget how to simply enjoy the simple pleasures of life.
I'm glad you said it, because I think that there was a period of time in my life, and I still struggle with it. Of course, my default settings are all legalism. They really are. And I had it pounded that you are, unless you're being productive.
Oh my goodness.
That you are somehow not living biblically.
Yeah.
I mean, and it came down like I couldn't read a book on an airplane if somebody was sitting next to me because you should be witnessing to them. I couldn't read fiction because I should be reading my Bible. I mean, it just everything.
There's that voice in the back of your head.
Always in the back of my head.
And I think that's a real thing that people struggle with is they feel this guilt when they are enjoying, when they should be enjoying their family.
Jesus took naps. I keep having to tell myself that. Jesus took naps.
Maybe they're only 20 minutes, but he did take naps. No, but I think there is something that we need to, like when it's my day off on Friday, like I should not be picking up anything that has to do with work. I should not be doing anything that's related to school. I need one day where I flitter away my day. I mean, I just need that, because if I don't, we are not wired for that. And I think that we can, just like we can waste time, we can almost make an idol out of productivity. And I think that's a dangerous thing. And I think I think we'll burn ourselves out in the.
Oh, I think to some extent, even some of my health problems are because I worked 60 hours a week for a majority of my life.
Yeah.
And I still found time to fritter away plenty of time.
Yeah.
But so then other things that were more important, like rest, like eating properly, like cooking a decent meal instead of stopping by fast food.
Right.
You make these compromises.
Absolutely.
And I think, again, this biblical principle that we don't talk about much is moderation. And moderation ought to apply to all the areas of our life, including sleep and work and eating and play and all the other things. And what often we do is we're like these giant pendulums swinging back and forth between extremes.
Yeah, we're chasing these white rabbits around, and then when we're feeling, when we're productive, we're like, oh man, I've got to do stuff with my family. When we're with our family, we're thinking about work, and it's almost like we got to be really careful that where we are and wherever we are, be present. When you're at work, be present at work. When you're with your family, be present with your family. I mean, I can't tell how many times, we're trying to watch a movie together as a family, and I get an email, and I pick up my phone and I start typing, and my wife looks at me like, what are you doing? Like, how many times do I have to tell you, please be present with our family? Mm-hmm. When we're doing something as a family, be present with your family. And so, I think sometimes, and again, this is where we can flip the tables and well, I'm just trying not to, I don't want to waste time. Well, listen, you brought the word up, play, fun. These are all things that God intended for us to do. But I think that coming back to the time wasters thing, I think time wasters comes back to this idea that it's when we should be being productive and we're not. It's when we should be working hard. It's when we do have a task and our job to do, when we have a responsibility to do it and we're not doing it. I think that's what we're talking about. So I've got my list. Do you want me to go through it? We got 5 minutes. I think I can hammer this.
You're going to do a Dan Burrell last 3 minutes of his sermon.
Oh my goodness. You just dunked on yourself, man.
Did. Well, we all know it's true.
There's nothing. I wish everyone could spend a day in the production room with Britt because Dan usually there's a time in his sermon where it's like he's got 5 minutes left and he hasn't even touched his points. And Britt is, it's like that scene in that movies where the sweat's kind of going in his brow and he's just like, oh my goodness, how are we going to get this done? Oh my word.
And I still land the plane.
And you still land the plane. Now you might leave kids on the side of the road.
I leave kids on the side of the road and sometimes I crash into the
If you don't know what we're talking
terminal.
about, Dan calls his untaught points as kids he leaves on the side of the road.
I love them.
I know.
And I don't want to leave
Okay,
them.
so here's what I have. Here are the suggestions I have. And I think I've already talked about this. You said make a to-do list, and I prioritize. That's number one. I said try a digital fast. If you feel like things are creeping in on you,
you just went radical all of a
It's
sudden.
radical. Just do it for
good,
listen, do it for a week. Do it for if you can do it for a week, try a month. If there's something that's in your life that says I cannot control how and when and how much time I spend on this, then the first thing you need to do is separate yourself from it and say, okay, I can't have this in my life until I can get this under control.
And listen to the reasons why you say you can't take a digital fast. And if they sound like someone who's an alcoholic, that's an indicator that you do need to take a digital fast.
Yeah, there's some major addiction issues that I think people have. The other thing I already mentioned is schedule off time to do mindless stuff. I don't think there's anything wrong with scheduling, saying, hey, for the next 2 hours, this is what I'm doing.
You go to soccer games.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Dan. Now you're dunking on me.
Yes, you needed it.
And then the other thing I said was, block off your calendar for high productivity. Now, I think this is where everyone has that 3 to 4 hour window of your life, of your day, that people are uber productive.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it is between probably 8 and 12 in the morning. 8 a.m. to noon, that's when I'm the most productive in life. I have a friend, I'm an elder at my old church. I would always get emails from him at like 1 in the morning. And he told me from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., he was the most productive in life. He got most of his work done. Now, he would sleep until 11 o'clock, but he just...
I used to be that way.
And he ran his own business, so he could make up, he could do whatever he wanted. It was a digital space. And so, but he found that he was super productive for these 4 hours. And most people will tell you there's about a 4 hour window that you will be the most productive. You get 80% of your work done. You've got to be a student of yourself to say, this is when that is for me.
And for most people, it is a time when they're not going to be interrupted.
Yes.
And I think that's uninterrupted work is so important because if you get interrupted, it takes you time to regather your momentum.
Yeah. So, for example, and so built off of that, silence your notifications. When you have that 4 hour window, silence your phone, silence your computers, don't answer email, take off your Apple Watch, whatever it is. But you just say, for these 4 hours, this is what I'm doing. I'm not going to be distracted by Facebook, social media, emails, text messages, and just this is what I'm doing. And I've learned that I've had to do, I'm not an expert at this. I still, don't do this perfectly, but I've learned what my window is where I get most of my work done. And that's what I've got to do. And then the last one I would just say is listen to your spouse or your loved one because they are the one who can see what you're doing more clearly maybe than you can. Yeah. And so if they're saying, hey, you're spending a lot of time doing X, Y, Z, don't brush it off. Don't explain it away. Don't protect your precious. This is
if you see yourself getting angry or frustrated with someone, it's like being an alcoholic.
Absolutely.
Like when your kids say, "Dad, will you play ball with me?" Not now. I'm too busy. And you get sharp with them, and you're really playing a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sign you need to turn off the video.
Massive issues. And then the last one I would just say is you've got to put boundaries around your time. And then that goes across the board, that there are just times when you just say, yeah, I have to say yes, and times you have to say no. And so when you do that, everyone wastes time. No one's going to do this perfectly, but the chances of you wasting a lot of time is going to go down significantly.
Yeah.
So
leaving margins in your schedule is so crucial.
Absolutely.
And I have found that the only way I can have margins is to literally schedule them. And and then when somebody says, I need you to go do something on Thursday night with me, I can say, I'm sorry, I already have something scheduled.
Right.
Now, it may be to go out on a date with my wife. It may be, and I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going out with my wife, because then they're going to say, well, I'm not more important, all that kind of stuff. I just simply say, I have something scheduled for that hour.
Right. You don't have to tell them what,
Right.
because you don't need their judgment on what you're doing. You just have to say,
And
hey,
it's really none
can't-
of their business.
I can't make it. I used to be so bad at that thing. I'm glad you brought that up. I felt like if I had to say no to someone, I had to explain to them why I couldn't say yes.
Yes.
And my wife had to teach me, that's none of their business.
Right.
If you have something scheduled or if you have something else going on, all you have to say is, I can't make that. And again, when someone says it to me, I don't think, well, I wonder what's more important than me right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that. And so, but it's that part of me that feels like I have to explain myself to everyone, and I don't need to do that. And so that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. So, all right. Well, man, we got done right in time. The
Perfect.
clock is going
Just
down.
like Dan finishing a
Just
sermon.
like how Dan comes right at the end. Oh, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed this conversation on taming time wasters. Our hope for you is that you can take this and that look at your calendar, look at how you manage your life, and that you can be able to do more for the glory of God. Thank you again for joining us on this conversation of Life Talks. We'll talk to you next time.